Hello YouTube family, it's me Sucha here. This is gonna be quite a different video because I actually don't have a solid conclusion. I recently suffered an injury right over here, and it is very rare that I have had injuries or that I endure injuries. Just to fill you in, basically what happened was that I took a pretty good break from any type of martial arts training, mostly because of the pandemic, and it was hard to actually get into a gym to train. But I have been training kickboxing and Muay Thai and a little bit of boxing for close to 4 years now. So I would say I'm intermediate-ish, although I've gotten like shin bruises and I've kind of like learned how to maneuver my body and what can hurt and what movements are more prone to injury and where to pay more attention. I ended up training like more contact, holding pads for each other in a Muay Thai class, and ended up with a really unexpected injury. And this is where I just always come back to the fact that martial arts training is so humbling. It puts you in your place. You can't take any shortcuts. You can't rush through things. Even if you're making a really quick movement, mentally you can't rush through it. And that's why it's actually way more similar to yoga than we think, because it really does put you in that meditative state. So coming back to the injury, just to kind of simplify this, if you can visualize it, I had someone holding a pad out for me. I was gonna go in with a right kick, and then the combo included a left knee right after. And the thing about partners is that for me, like, I wholeheartedly trust everybody, but it's also really good to play defense. And although you are supposed to go all out in certain settings of training, it's always good to be careful as well, because this is not an actual fight. And the point is to really just work on technique. I was also just really excited because I freaking love Muay Thai training. I love throwing kicks. And for me personally, my left knee and my left kick is way stronger than my right. My left side's a lot more mobile than my right. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but basically I went in for a right kick and I was already just thinking about the left knee because that was the immediate next move. But the way I distributed weight and maybe the way that the other person had held the pad, not kind of being as supportive enough, my initial reaction was putting weight in a funky way into my left leg. And all I remember happening was after throwing the right kick, before I could even go in with the left knee, I felt something just kind of pull and spasm in my left leg, and I collapsed to the ground. It was definitely behind my left knee and to the side of my left knee. I couldn't get up for like a good few minutes. I was kind of just sitting on the ground. I couldn't even feel like I could get up. Kind of limped my way over to the locker room. But overnight and progressively throughout the next day, it got worse, and I couldn't bend my knee at all, and I couldn't straighten it out. I still can't to this day. It's been about 4 days now. I haven't gone into the doctor yet. The recommendation is that I get an MRI to decipher if it is a ligament or meniscus tear. My swelling hasn't gone down at all, and I will kind of show a little bit, not to bore you because it's just going to be really sexy knee videos and pictures that are basically my updates. I just gravitated over to the kitchen, but basically the point of this video is to see how I can heal and show you the modalities that I use to heal, but this will primarily be focused on my animal-based eating for the next week or 2 weeks. I'm not exactly sure how long this video will be. I don't want to be disappointed or attached to a certain outcome. However, I really do feel the combination of mindset, the placebo effect, and actually just doing a lot of mental meditation and also having an on-point diet. I don't like to think of it as a diet. I just think of it as a primal approach to eating, which is animal-based eating and also fasting, using those different modalities to heal quicker. I will be doing some movement, but more so upper body and more core work. So I'll show a little bit of that because I think regardless of the type of injury, a lot of people do struggle with knee injuries and knee pain. So if you are struggling with any of that, this is a way that you can use to heal with the goal of getting past an injury that you're working through. All right, so it is Monday, officially 4 days since the injury. Last evening, I decided to go to a beautiful sound alchemy at my favorite place called SOJOURN Healing Collective here in San Diego. And I'm really hoping the sound, vibration, and frequencies will be helping with the healing process. So I'm gonna make it a point to go to more sound baths because it's amazing. You can pretty much just lay down. There's bolsters to prop up my leg and then just let the sound do its magic and go into like a deep state of rest and recovery. This morning, I actually taught a vinyasa yoga class and led some sound healing. And it was one of my first classes that I was leading without doing any of the movement, so purely verbal. And it was a beautiful challenge for myself and also for the students to really get into that state of listening rather than following in visual. And it actually gives people an opportunity to tap into their own practice. So it is close to 12 p.m. All I've had is a cold brew and I am going to eat right now. And I'm going to show you probably my go-to meal for most of this process. So I'll be having this meal very, very, very often. So the ranch I work with is called Perennial Pastures, and this is their regenerative grass-fed finished ground beef. And the actual ranch is only about an hour and a half away from where I live. So literally the most local meat you can probably get here in Southern California, San Diego area. But I basically cook up this ground beef. I was able to get my hands on some lamb fat. So I cooked it up in just lamb fat, which is a really natural way of cooking because it's not any processed version of fat and it's literally just straight from the animal. The other option is beef tallow. So that's basically rendered beef fat. My other option is going to be ghee. Basically cooked the beef up in that. This is what it's looking like. And that powdery stuff is the beef liver capsules or supplements. And I don't really like to swallow the capsule form, so I pretty much just empty it out on there. I drizzle some honey. I like to get this from Smith Farms. So if you're in San Diego area, they're at all of the farmers markets. And then I always put Redmond real salt on my food, pretty much all my food. So that is the deliciousness for today and a lot of my upcoming meals. This is what it looks like when it's all ground up and mixed together. So got the honey, the salt, the ancestral organ supplements, and the ground beef. And then those little pieces of yellow are the lamb fat, which just makes it so juicy and delicious. It is day 5 of this injury and I'm about to get some really nourishing food into my system. But just really quick note about injury and protecting and tapping into your own intuition. I think that's really underrated because our body and our soul truly has all of the answers in knowing how to guide us. And with this injury, I've just gotten so many different types of feedback and guidance. Everyone's going to share based on their knowledge and experience, right? And that is, their walk of life and their story. However, based on people's experiences and how they've dealt with it and their identity and their relationship to pain and healing, it's going to be really, really different for everybody. And so I have some people who are going to take the maximal amount of precaution and they're preparing for the worst. And they're like, you're probably going to need surgery. And I'm like, whoa, bro, that wasn't even on the top of my head. And then I have other people, like a few friends who are all in the martial arts community. And they're like, yeah, these injuries happen all the time. Just give it rest. You'll be fine. And you'll be rocking and rolling as long as you give your body time to rest. It could be anything from a tear to a sprain. It might not actually be something super serious. And so I bring this up because I'm kind of in this midway and I definitely want to take all the time for rest and recovery because I do use my body so much. I'm such an active person, but I think it's really easy to get carried away with worst case scenarios. And then it almost becomes this identity and story you're building around your injury or disease. And I'm not diminishing or trying to devalue the seriousness of what people experience. However, I feel like the power of the mind is so freaking important. If you haven't read We Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza, you need to read it. I went in depth with this book and it's a very dense book, but it literally proves bringing science and spirituality together how your body biologically will react just based on what you're thinking. So for example, someone can tell you you have a disease and you might not have it. Maybe it's a misdiagnosis, but because you're feeding to your mind and your soul and your body that you have this disease, biologically your body thinks it has this disease, so it will start creating symptoms and act in that way. Whereas what if we did the opposite and it's healing, and I just put towards the energy of my knee, like my knee is totally fine and it's just like a minor injury that needs time to rest and heal. And so who knows? And so this is going to be really different for everybody, but I want to share this because this is the avenue I'm taking to lead in my healing journey. And so if that resonates and hits for you, then hop on that. If you truly want to be healed and you don't want to associate, then don't direct that energy towards your injury. And that's why there's practices like Reiki and self-healing and energetic work that can be so, so powerful. So I'm definitely tapping into all of that. But in the meantime, I'm going to eat some sardines, which are my go-to, super easy, that I'll show you. And then I'm going to have a really delicious meal that I'm so excited. All right, so these are the sardines I get. Make sure to get the ones in water. I'm gonna link it below. I just get these from Amazon. They do have them at Costco, but they're usually the ones that come in olive oil. I just can't do the olive oil. So this is actually so great. 170 calories. The entire thing is 22 grams of protein. Literally so easy. You just open it up and then you go, and it's like the perfect on the go. It's so nutrient dense. Sardines are like a superfood. So I just drained this in Duke's water bowl and he loves that sardine juice. But this is a great example of eating nose to tail because you'll see like the tiny little bones and then the skin, and it's just a great way to eat the whole animal. Okay, so for the main meal today that I'll be consuming, I'm so excited. Basically, this past weekend, I was in Orange County with my mom, who was helping me nursing my injury. We made a really authentic dish called lamb biryani. And yes, there was rice, so that was like the very few occasions where I just had one meal with rice. Sat okay in my system, but for that, because it's lamb, I got a huge rack of lamb that was grass-fed and delicious, and we used a good amount, but I basically kept the entire frame of the bone, which had a lot of meat in it. So I threw it in my Instant Pot, and then I put in this Kettle and Fire beef bone broth, which I love the taste of. This is probably my favorite taste. And what happens is that because lamb is pretty fatty, the broth gets all of the fat juiciness and then the lamb flavor with the beef flavor. So it's just an incredible broth. But then I also have the lamb, and I'm basically just going to eat the meat off the bone. I've never done it this way before, but we'll see how it goes. And I'm going to show you this meal. Here we go. We got all the broth. There's just a little few pieces of lemongrass in there. And then this is the rack of lamb, which really fell apart and kind of just tenderized as it's been in here for about an hour and a half. I was pulling it apart and had to show you. This is insane. Look at that. Wow. This is what my nourishing bowl is looking like, and I definitely am going to be adding more. But this is that Kettle and Fire broth with some lamb. There's definitely some bony cartilagey pieces, so I'm just going to suck on them, bite into them, and then maybe treat the Dukas with some little bit too. He doesn't even know what's coming. This is where my primal side comes out. This is on my bone. I love eating with my hands. So juicy. So juicy. So today I am at the Ecology Center and I am making strawberry jam with my girl Perla. Check this out. You in action. Just made some strawberry jam with the goddess Perla here at the Ecology Center. Yay. Perla! Oh my gosh, the trees look so magical. I know, it's a place. Okay. It's been a long freaking day, but I just wanted to check in. It is Wednesday. That means it's almost been a full week since the injury. 6 days? Dang. I was on my feet way more than I should have been today, but I was really leading hard with the story I'm creating in my mind because everything I was doing today was so soul-filling. I went to the ecology center and I volunteered, and I was with my friend Perla, and we were just doing all the soul talks. We made strawberry jam, and yes, I had a little bit. And then I was at the Carlsbad Farmers Market educating people on regenerative agriculture, which was so awesome. As always, it was a long day, and it's like 10 p.m. and I'm gonna eat, so definitely not fasting today, but I do have the usual perennial pastures, regenerative grass-fed finished ground beef, bone marrow, the organ supplements sprinkled on top of this with salt and honey. And I did cook this in lamb fat again. So just so soul nourishing. Still making it happen, seeing progress, but my leg definitely still feels it. I really need to prioritize rest tomorrow, so let's go. It is officially a week and 1 day since the injury. Having some ground beef, organ supplementation on top, salt, and I cooked it in lamb fat. So nothing really crazy and new. This morning I had a photo shoot, so it did require a little bit more walking, and I was really trying to take it as easy as possible. This injury is teaching me so much, and I really am missing working out. I mean, this is the first intentional break I've taken. As far as pain goes, definitely way less pain and able to get a little bit more movement, but still limping on one leg. Knee still feels really wonky and kind of weird. I can definitely, I'm not able to completely stiff leg my entire leg. I can't straighten out the knee, and I can't bend my knee backwards either too much, but just leaning into the time it takes to rest, recover, let the food heal me too, and diving all in to do the deep work, and just also a lot of actual business work that I've been able to expand in as I've had more space in my schedule. My hair is madness from this morning at the beach, but it has been quite a Friday. I actually took Duke to the dog park where I live, and it's an off-leash dog park, and there's pull-up bars, so I'm gonna insert some snippets right here because it was my first day back actually doing any kind of exercise, and I only did about 3 sets of pull-ups, but I was so surprised that I actually got my last PR of 6 pull-ups. I somehow hit that today, and it's been 8 days of rest, so it's just proof that rest doesn't mean you're moving backwards, but definitely being out in the sun for multiple hours today has me just... I'm gonna wait a little bit until I actually eat my dinner, but in the meantime, just nibble on a little bit of fruit. I need to show you this fruit, this delicious, amazing fruit. I went to the Ecology Center in San Juan Capistrano, and I was volunteering, making some strawberry jam, and I got to take home these strawberries. I usually don't do a lot of berries, but these strawberries are literally the best tasting strawberries I've ever had my entire life. I am also having an apple that is also from the Ecology Center. This one looks like it'd be really crisp, and it was in the fridge, so it's gonna be nice and cold. Long freaking day. Just got out of the shower, immediately came to these strawberries and an orange. We had our first meet and movement day at Perennial Pastures on the ranch. It was a long freaking day. I personally didn't eat too much, so I'm gonna go out to eat with my friends before going to a nighttime event after I just recoup, which was my shower. But these amazing fresh fruits are calling to me. So vulnerable share. Yesterday had a little bit of a freak out with my knee because the pain has gone away, but I'm still feeling like the mobility. I literally cannot straighten out my knee like this at all. And so I felt the call after a breakdown to go to urgent care and finally get imaging done, basically an x-ray, which I went this morning to. And I'd been running away from it because I've been running away from Western medicine and help from doctors. And I was also scared about something deeply happening. still need to go get an actual MRI and see an ortho for any actual information, but based on the examination, they did guess that it could possibly be an ACL tear or something with meniscus. Okay, I just needed a place to situate to finish the story, and I brought my food out here. Basically, I still am keeping with an open mind because I don't know what exactly is happening until I get the MRI and ortho appointment. For the doctor to say that there is potential of me needing surgery and a possible ACL tear or something with meniscus was really scary, and for him to actually say it out loud that this would take months of healing, my worst possible nightmare. And I've basically been breaking down a few times since yesterday and in front of the doctor just to conceptualize and comprehend the fact that I can't move the way that I've always moved because I'm so used to literally doing pistol squats on my leg. So to be able to not even fully straighten it out or bend it like I used to is a lot. And I really wanted to go at this with healing without Western medicine and like just really taking a rest. But the fact that this might entail a little bit more, and they did give me an updated knee brace that's a little bit more supportive and crutches, it just puts it into more of a realistic perspective. So I'm gonna really lock into a few other healing modalities that I'll share on here that will be more than just the food. So it's not raining yet, which means off-leash dog park time. Gonna try see what my body can do today with pull-ups. Let's go, let's go. Holy crap! Form wasn't the best, but I got 7! That's my PR, baby! I'm gonna really miss lower body and glute work, but I'm stoked about this. Let's go! Duke!